Hello, folks. It is a lovely Thursday afternoon or evening, or I don't know. Real talk. What time does afternoon end and evening? Is there a specific time, or is it like a gradient? I wasn't thinking about this before, but now it's bothering me. Oh boy. Alright, let's not worry about that too much. Sure, I got all my settings correct. All good. Why does my Minecraft always disappear? It's just fine. Then I transition screens and suddenly, boop, gone. So weird. What's wrong with my headphones right now, and I do not know what it is. Anyway, let's get started. So, it has been a little while since I've streamed. I try to keep consistent, but between Thanksgiving and God, just kind of everything going on in life, have been absent for a little bit. So it is good to be back in the grind. Now my music. Well, it's a good timing on that pause because my little doggy is asking to come in and I must go get her. I'm coming, Miss Sadie. I'm coming to rescue you. Coming, Sam. 2-for-1 deal. Miss Sadie and Otis are joining us today. I actually wanted to talk about Otis a little bit. So on some past streams, I mentioned that he wasn't doing well. He was freezing up and having panic attacks. He's doing so much better now. We've got him on this hemp joint supplement. So that's helped him out a lot. Feeling much better, which also means he's doing well enough to get a little shit again. Which, glad he's feeling well, but also, God, what a stinker. Big jump, Miss Sadie. So, I have done some work off camera, most notably, it might not be super obvious just at a glance, but I did add another section back here. I think this is about how deep I want the overall build to go. I am gonna set that back a little deeper for the back wall type build, which, if all goes to plan, we will be working on today. But I also, in addition to that, did a little bit more work on some of the reflective bits. They're not finished. I still need to push them back and give the illusion that these go deeper. Then also we come over here in that I've actually dug down basically as deep as we need to go, just kind of leaving some layers in between, so that should make building easier so that I can everything. So hopefully that should all be workable and we'll be able to get up and down and, build out the reflection of the building above. I'm thinking for this section I might have a little semicircle made out of mud, as a little entrance, and it'll obviously be sunk down in so it looks reflected through. But I think that might be a nice way to kind of mix it up with in a way that's elegant and not in the way. I don't know. Still got a lot of finicking around to do, figure out what I like. I've also made sure that all of these had backs in them, because they didn't last time. Oh, and can't tell because of the blocks, but I have done this last back section all the way up to the top level, as you can... Here, goes all the way back. Oh. Oz, my beloved. Oh, okay. Anyway, today's main focus is going to be trying to get in this back section. And I have some plans. So over on the Discord, which totally check out if you haven't, I have been talking with folks about a couple options that I was considering. And what we're going to be going for is like a big mechanical sun. So I think that is going to be super sick. Let me pull up my preference. So we're going to want to have it at least like 5 or 6. Maybe more. It really depends. That's like a... Well, we're going to start digging back here in a second anyway, so it's fine. So from here... Oh, I really should have, like, done counting instead of just eyeballing the... I would pull up the actual world that I made the test on, that it is on my mobile version of Minecraft, because it's easier to do when I'm, like, on break at work than it is to lug my big PC, so... I just have to try and figure this out as we go. You know what, maybe I can actually pull it up on I can just figure out what we're doing. We also could spend a big portion of today collecting resources because the curse of Minecraft is there's never enough resources to go around. And you might be thinking, well, son, you idiot, then why don't you just play creative mode? Because that's not what I enjoy! Creative mode bores me! And like, you're valid if you play in creative mode. Like, play Minecraft however the fuck you want, I don't care. But like, it does not give my poor little sponge brain enough long-term stimulation. I need the slow, methodic grind of a difficult world, and hardcore is the best way to achieve that. Now you may be thinking, is a slow, methodical grind gonna be fun? And well, like, it's pretty fun. Like, I enjoy it. I do hardcore because I enjoy it, don't get me wrong. But also, oh boy. Boy, is it a lot to handle. Alright, I kind of sound like I'm talking nonsense. I need to take a big drink because I am a little bit heady right now. Big drink of the soda pop. Better not be a hole in this straw. I think I've just got it tipped weird. Anyway, so new Pokemon game. Big news, big news. I have mixed feelings. Modern day Pokemon, I have confusing, complicated, passionate, difficult feelings. Ones that I don't entirely understand. That's normal in this period of your life, you know? Everyone comes of age one day where they realize, I don't know if I like Pokemon. I don't dislike it, but I don't know if I... But I don't not like it. It's that kind of phase. Let's start with grinding for some commoners. I few those. So, I have very complicated feelings about modern Pokemon. I don't hate it as nearly as much as like some other adult Pokemon fans do. Like, there are some people who like are so upset at the Pokemon games, and like they're like, oh, it wasn't like this when I played. a lot of the things they complain about aren't really changed. It's complicated. So, I started playing back in the old ages of Diamond and Pearl, and I'm talking about the originals, not the new remakes that came out like this year or last year. I don't know. I didn't play them because they looked bad, and I didn't want that to taint my love of the original Diamond and Pearl. Maybe they were okay, but from what I heard, they were a bug-filled mess, and I didn't particularly like the art style, so not upset that I skipped out on those. Gonna be real. But I don't feel like those are a great representation of modern Pokemon. They're technically a remake. Again, very messy, confusing, complicated feelings. Let's see. I think I became aware of my issues with Pokemon somewhere between XY and Sword and Shield. But the issue started probably in XY. Like, I liked Sun and Moon pretty well. Let's keep this chronological. Big fan of the Pokemon. I've played Soul Silver, Pearl, Platinum. I have very vivid memories of trying to play Sapphire on my DS, but because it was a Game Boy cartridge going into a DS, it kept, like, not working correctly and causing me all sorts of troubles where the game would restart. And even though, like, the game would restart after, like, I had just reached the Legendary, I'd be like, well, I guess I just have to play the entire game again. You know, it was long and slow and slogging, but I didn't care because I loved Pokemon and I had a huge amount of fun. So, when I say I was a big Pokemon fan, like I said, I started in Diamond and Pearl. You know that minigame where you're underground and you're, like, digging up fossils and gems, and it's just, like, a minigame, and it's only really meant to be a lot of fun as a way to get more resources and, like, early co-op. Well, for me, I spent hours, like, possibly hundreds, just going down under the underground in Sinnoh, working on my base and digging, even though I had way more leaf stones and whatnot than I was ever gonna use. Still just kept going down there and digging. I have a long and storied history with the Pokemon franchise. So this isn't coming out of a place of malice. And again, if you like modern Pokemon, that's no skin off my back. No teeth off my bones. Everybody's got different things that they're into. I don't even necessarily dislike modern Pokemon. So, first let's talk about designs. A lot of older fans have a big issue with the designs, and I do somewhat understand where they're coming from. Legitimately, no joke, when the starters for what was it, Paldea, the newest games, Scarlet and Violet, when those starters were announced, my friends posted them in our Discord, and I was like, oh cool, those are some really good Fakemon designs. And they were like, no son, these are the real starters for the new region. And partially I didn't think they were real because it was very, very soon after a recent game, and my poor naive heart mistakenly thought maybe, hey, they won't crunch their developers that hard, and I was wrong, and yeah, it should not have come out that soon after Sword and Shield. Like, I get it, it's exciting, new game, but like, between both crunch and just quality for the consumer, like, it's the only people who it's really a win for have the game rushed out. These, like, people who are, like, investors. It's not better for the players, it's not better for the developers, it's not better for anybody that way, except for the people who are, like, making money off of it. That's a completely different tangent aside, though. Anyway. But, so it was partially because I didn't expect a new Pokemon that soon, but it was also genuinely, in part, due to, like, they look so different from the original Pokemon style that to me, like, the only reason I registered them even as being Fakemon as opposed to just random monsters is because my Discord has a channel about Pokemon, and that's where they were posted, which is why I assumed they were Fakemon. I was like, oh yeah, cool Fakemon. Weren't Fakemon, they were real Pokemon. And I'm not even sure if I would have guessed they were Fakemon if they were in a different channel. I might have just thought, oh, those are cool monster creatures. Which, like, to a certain extent, doesn't matter. Because Pokemon are monster creatures. Like, do they need to follow the same style? There's a very big pressure that, like, if they're going to create hundreds of Pokemon, like, at least... Oh, just distracted me by rolling around on his back. Cute little guy. What was I up to? Pokemon. When it comes with design, I feel if they are all going to... If they are going to keep creating new games, if this is going to be an ongoing franchise with new Pokemon, they have to change the conventions of the style over time. It is impossible for them to stay in the same style forever without things starting to look incredibly same, repetitive. That's kind of a very difficult limitation of working design, which actually have done some study of going into a field of design because I'm that kind of thing. Because I'm a dork. Point is, it's not super simple. You can't just say, well, I think you should keep staying in the same design and keep, like, these aren't Pokemon designs. These don't feel like Pokemon. That's not a very fair statement because if they kept in the same design convention, eventually we would be seeing a million Diglets. Because, I mean, Diglett is in the design convention, and I love him. Does that mean Diglett is what every Pokemon should look like? Or even most Pokemon? But the idea is that I'm trying to get across. It's gonna be near impossible for new Pokemon to come into existence without kind of going outside of what is established in the Pokemon franchise. And while that can be frustrating, I would prefer if certain things about their design process were more similar to older games. Like, there is... It's like... It has a certain amount of validity either way. I certainly prefer the era where Pokemon are more... These are magical creatures who live in the same world as you and have different abilities, over this more modern era where the issue isn't even that Pokemon necessarily are too humanoid, at least not in my opinion. Because, like, some very beloved Pokemon are anthropomorphized. For example, Lucario, which is very beloved. It was the star of one of the Pokemon movies. It has appeared in, to my knowledge, every single Pokemon game, at least since it was introduced. It was not Gen 1, if I recall correctly. But, like, despite, like, it's like this super popular beloved Pokemon because it's cool as hell, and it stands on two legs and is fairly human-like. And we could have many arguments about whether it's a good design, but another very historic Gen 1 design that is humanoid, Mr. Mime. Love it or hate it, it is absolutely a very anthropomorphized Pokemon that is very old in the game. Audio off? My audio off. I'm gonna get myself... Where's my shield? Break my shield? Anyway. I gotta focus on this. Get back to my rant about Pokemon design in a minute. Dodging and weaving. Die, die, die. Moving, die. Alright, I need to turn up my game audio and down my music, or else I will not be able to hear things on their way to kill me. Audio levels? How is it still so quiet? Maybe the problem's just headphones. Ugh. Frustrating. Anyway. I think the coast is clear, so back to talking about Pokemon. The issue, I don't think, with modern Pokemon is that they are human. I think the issue is more that they feel less like creatures and more like monstrous characters. Which doesn't sound inherently like a problem, and for other franchises, it usually isn't. But it doesn't work for Pokemon. Like, let's compare Lucario to, for example, Incineroar. I know that one is fairly, it is a very, very frustrating one to the people who are anti, two-leg starters. Whereas, Lucario is this cool creature, stands on two legs, and is intelligent enough to talk to humans, so is basically human level in intelligence, is a very cool design, but is humanoid in shape, and humanoid in intelligence, according to lore in the movies. Because, like, you gotta keep in mind, some Pokemon are confirmed to have human equal or above, like, equal to human or above human intelligence. So, like, you can't say, like, oh, well, it acts like a person, that's the problem. The issue is that a whole species would not act like the same person. Why is it that every Incineroar is this braggadocious wrestler type of character? Like, it doesn't matter if the Pokemon's nature is shy, or skittish, or vain. They're always going to evolve this big, like, very aggressive looking wrestler. And, like, it's not that you can't use elements of that, but if you make that just kind of the full thing, like, it looks like a specific character rather than a species based on a concept. You can have the concept of wrestling without the character being a wrestler. If I'm explaining that anyway sensibly. Oop! Moving, 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 moving. Where's the way back in? But yeah, like, the character could have a fur pattern inspired by wrestler clothing without, like, having the expression of, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna wrestle ya! Like, you don't need that to get across the design concept of a wrestler and a wrestler cat. But, like, a big part of Pokemon is that these are supposed to be something we can suspend our disbelief in and believe this is a race of creatures. Whether those creatures have as much intelligence as a dog, or humanoid or above intelligent, it's hard to believe in an entire race of braggadocious wrestlers. It kind of goes into that writing trope, Planet of the Hats. Like, is every single member of this species the same in personality? Because, like, then it doesn't feel like a real species. Quote-unquote real. Like, we all know Pokemon aren't real. But I feel like it kind of fucks with your suspension of disbelief and just kind of makes them feel more like cartoon characters than these fantastical creatures with their own individual lives. And, like, in a Void, I don't think Incineroar is a terrible design. I don't think it's ideal for a Pokemon design, at least not the direction I prefer for Pokemon and a lot of other people prefer as well. But it's not inherently a bad design. It's just not right for Pokemon, in my opinion. And again, if you like Incineroar, more power to ya. But I was scarred by watching my cute little Tepig evolve into a Emboar, and I'm never going to overcome that trauma, so Aha! You know, both Emboar and Incineroar have like an OAR at the end of their name and are kind of wrestler influenced. It's less like, it's less wrestling in Emboar's case and more like aggression, fighting, whatever. But like, they still have a lot of similarities, and both disappointed me. Yeah, it's rough. I do think that there is a bit too much of a trend of starters turning into anthropomorphic Pokemon. I would prefer if it's not, 100% of starters stand up. Like, I don't dislike... I'm not one of the people who hates all two-legged starters. All I'm saying is, does every single starter need to turn into a person wearing a fursuit? Nothing wrong with Pokemon who are anthropomorphic, but does it need to be every single starter? Please, I miss variety. What happened to, like, Venusaur? Venusaur was cool as hell. And, like, Blastoise got up on two legs, but it worked, you know? Like, and I can't put my finger on what the difference is in that case. But, like, something about it with Blastoise worked so much better than it does with a lot of modern Pokemon that get up on two legs. Can't put my finger on it. And I do know that there is a certain amount of nostalgia affecting my opinion regarding this stuff. Like, that's just inescapable. No human being is truly immune to bias. And if they tell you they are more biased than anyone else, I assure you. But, like, I don't know, it's just... it's complicated. Then, designs aside, I have other very still complicated problems with the Pokemon franchise. I am among the people who are very upset about the removal of Mega Evolution. Like, I personally think there's no real great argument against them. Like, I've heard some people say they were too overpowered, but you can nerf that. I've heard people say, like, they were, a lot of them, giving Gen 1 favoritism. And they were, but that's not inherent with the actual gimmick. Like, you could just say, like, hey, I think more Pokemon besides Gen 1ers should get Mega Evolutions, without saying, well, mostly Gen 1 Pokemon are getting Mega Evolutions, so no one should get a Mega Evolution. Like, you get it? It could be a lot more thought out. Oh wait, I already have torches. I don't need to craft them. Genius of the year over here. I honestly believe there's no great reason to say that Mega Evolutions should have been completely cut. And, like, a lot of people are like, oh, well, there's still, like, new forms with, like, Dynamaxing and stuff. Even though Dynamaxing was also removed. But, like, the Gigantamax forms, with just some very minor tweaks, those also could have been Mega Evolution. Like, if they wanted to keep designing newer, cooler forms, they really didn't have to make a different gimmick. Unless, of course, they only invented Gigantamaxing because they wanted to make yet another form for Charizard, and if they made him a third Mega Evolution, people would realize, hey, what the fuck? That's kind of stupid. I wonder if maybe Game Freak likes Charizard a little too much. Look, Charizard's a great design, but also, it's just a fire dragon. Game Freak, please, you have other great Pokemon, other wonderful designs. Like, I'm just gonna say it. Charizard I don't like it as much as Venusaur and Ivysaur and whatnot. I like the Bulbasaur line more. Please, just cut it out with all the Charizard stuff. I know it gets you lots of clicks, Game Freak, but we're tired. Sincerely, single mothers against Charizard. Hello, zombie. That we found this cave. We should light it up before we can. Anyway, so I'm definitely not a fan of them introducing new gimmicks and then no matter what dropping them. Like, I can understand bringing in new gimmicks and seeing like, hey, this one's popular, this one isn't. But it's basically a guarantee no matter what, that no matter what a gimmick is, whether it's interesting or stupid or just kind of boring, or if it's basically a new coat of paint on a gimmick that existed in an older region, it's still gonna be gone. Like, very soon, by the time the next mainline game comes. The only almost exception, and I very much emphasize almost, is Pokemon and Me. Because there are still gimmicks where you get to get face-to-face with your Pokemon and hang out with them, but it's very much been changed to the point where it's not quite the same gimmick. Like, there was Pokemon Refresh, and then Pokemon Camp, and then I think now it's Pokemon Picnic, which, like, I don't necessarily hate any of them, but a lot of them are repeating ideas from older versions, like older iterations of the same concept, adding something new, and then cutting a lot of it out. I really like the idea of the Pokemon Picnic. I like being able to see all my Pokemon run around. I like being able to throw a ball to them and make them food and wash them. But I would like if there were the older features. I would like if I could still pet them, if I could do mini game, if like there's all these little things where it's like they figured, oh well, we're gonna cut out the puzzle minigame and all the other minigames in Pokemon and Me, but we're going to introduce, you can see them in the overworld now. And it's like, well, that's nice, but did it have to be instead of? Why can't you include both of these things? And like, hardware limitations could have been an excuse if we were still talking about Game Boy, but like, my issue isn't even directly with Pokemon and Me. It's relatively a small portion of the game. I just feel like it's one of the most emblematic features of Game Freak's issues, because even this feature that sort of has stayed, like, they're not willing to just leave the good parts. They have to basically reinvent the wheel every time, and sometimes the wheel is dog shit. I don't hate some of the things they do. Like, I don't hate the Pikachu clones. I think it's fun to see, like, here is this ecological niche, the electric rodent, or rodent-like. Sometimes it's like a lagomorph or whatever. But here's this electric small mammalian creature, and this is a niche in the Pokemon world's ecology. Like, it seems that no matter where you go, some Pokemon has evolved in the Darwinian sense of evolved, not like the Pokemon sense. Some Pokemon has come in to fill that niche, which, like, implies some really interesting stuff, and also kind of makes sense, because, like, generally smaller mammals like rodents, one of their main predators is birds, and the flying type is electricity, so it makes sense for, in the Pokemon universe, there to be quite a few, like, small rodents that developed electric abilities to defend against flying types, which are generally their predator. Like, it makes sense, and it's cool seeing these different ecological takes. Like, there's stuff like that where I really don't mind it. And also, the continuous bringing back of Pokemon clones, I mean, not Pokemon, Pikachu clones, is the reason we got Mimikyu, which is objectively, like, one of my favoriteest Pokemon ever. I've got a plush of it sitting on my shelf right now. I love Mimikyu. It's like such a simple design, but it's so charming and it's so cute, and I just want to kiss its little cloth face. Mwah. Chef's be kissing. But then, like, there are Pokemon where I look at it and I'm like, just one change could have made this Pokemon a lot better. For example, this one is the first one that comes to mind. Again, because I've been playing Scarlet and Violet, it's the most recent one. Doesn't necessarily mean this is the only case where it happens, but, what's it called? You know the new dog Pokemon? It's, I think based on a Mastiff. Well, it's got yellow hair on a brown body, and it clashes, like, really weirdly. Like, I feel like they could have gone for a more orange color, or instead could have gone brown. Like, and it really would have been this really simple, easy fix that I don't believe, from what I can tell of the Pokemon, would have necessarily gone against idea for the design that Game Freak was working with. And to an extent, I can understand wanting to make things look different, wanting to make them look unique, but sometimes it just doesn't work very well. It's like, it's complicated, and especially with it's complicated me about everything I feel about the Pokemon franchise ever. I just feel like there are some designs where I look at them and I wonder, what were they even trying to, like, something that I was kind of excited for and fairly disappointed in was Wugtrio, no, not Wugtrio, Wuglet, the garden eel variety of, like, the, convergent evolution, water garden eel version of Diglett. I think it's a really cool idea to explore convergent evolution, because I'm a nerd and a loser and whatever, etc., etc. And I think a garden eel is a really cool idea for a Pokemon. So I'm excited, like, okay, I'm curious to see how it evolves and how the evolution is different from Dugtrio. Like, is it going to be drastically different? Is it going to be basically its own whole creature? Like, what is it going to look like when Wuglet evolves? But then it's just like, it's Wugtrio, and instead of 3 Diglett heads poking out of the ground, Wiglet has turned red, and now there's 3 of them poking out the sides of a rock. And it's like, I guess I should have seen that coming, but also I feel like there are a lot cooler ideas you could have done with it. It could be that, like, the first stage is an example of convergent evolution, where they look very similar, but then it's almost like divergent evolution with the second stage, where it's like, here is something that looks very similar to a Pokemon you know, but here is its very different and unique evolution. I feel like that could have been a lot cooler than just, like, Red Trio. Like, it feels almost like it's less designed than Wiglet in some ways, because, like, it doesn't even stretch out quite as long as Wiglet does. It's just disappointing. Oh, and I hate Toadschool. Like, this isn't related to a greater issue with the Pokemon Company or a design flaw. I just hate it. Something about the way they turned tentacles into, like, little stubby legs. The way its face looks on that little mushroom. Like, I hate it. It's hideous. I look at it and it makes me feel disgusting. And I love mushrooms. I love fungus. That kind of thing. Wonderful. Peak aesthetic. Why does it look like that? It's horrible. Terrible. 0 out of 10. Put it back in the ocean. That one's more just a matter of very vehement personal opinion now. Guess I went one deeper up here. Push this back one. Anyway. Very strong feelings about that guy. But, like, I also am very much not of the belief, like, oh, there's no more good Pokemon design. Although a lot of the new Pokemon designs don't go in the direction I would prefer, I also think there are some really cool ones. I feel like the Charcadet line is very cool in a similar way to like Lucario and Bisharp, where it's this very anthropomorphized Pokemon, but it's still like very badass and not so humanoid that it like completely throws me off. I love Cyclizar. It's so cool and it's so cute, and the way like the front quote-unquote wheel is just like this lizard sack that it inflates, and then the back wheel isn't even a wheel, it just curls its tail up under it in a way that looks like a wheel, and because of the coloring on it. And I just think it's such a cool design, it's so clever, and it's got like that really charming, goofy lizard face. And like, I just love my little Cyclizar. I'm actually kind of disappointed that I can't choose to ride it instead of my legendary, because like, I do kind of think the box legendary being your ride Pokemon, although it is cool, I don't dislike it as much as some other people. I want to ride my Cyclizar. I've built this emotional attachment, and I've trained it myself, and I just want to cherish this little creature. That, though, like, I get them not adding that. It is such a very small little bonus thing that I want for personal reasons. So that's not really a critique of Game Freak so much as, like, I just love Cyclizar. It's just like a little guy. So good. Sure hope it's... Oh, I guess the edge moved out here. Sure hope its evolution doesn't hurt me. I don't hate Koraidon and Miraidon as much as other people do. In fact, although I was wary of their designs at first, they have absolutely grown on me since they were first announced. I think they're very quite cool. I think it's very funny how Koraidon, just like similar to Cyclizar, he looks like he has wheels, but he just runs. Like, oh, look at that boy go. Though personally, I chose Miraidon. I prefer its powered down form. I don't like it quite as much in its like powered up form. But like, it's just like this cool cyborg dog that you gotta ride around on. Love him. Oh boy, and he likes his sandwiches. That's a big plus, I think, about these new games, is I feel like the Pokemon games have started getting characters and story that I can really get invested in. Which for me, it first really started like getting me emotionally invested in Sun and Moon. Like, past games, I've liked the story and I've liked characters, but there hasn't really been anything that my brain latched onto super deeply. Like, okay, that's not fair. You know, Pokemon Black and White. Wonderful. Amazing. The characters in there, they got me going, and you know I love N. What a good boy. Dorian, look, Black and White is an anomaly because it was very different from any of the other games at the time, and is still very different even now. But like, to me, in my mind, like, it was amazing that there was this much story, but this was an outlier. Pokemon Sun and Moon was where it kind of stopped being an outlier and started being, okay, story is getting more involved here. Mostly because I was in love with Lily, but that's beside the point. And yes, I pronounce it Lily. Got 2 L's, and I think it's pretty that way, and I love her. She is my girlfriend. We hold hands. Like, I will not lie, that scene, like, where you hang out with her in a cave during the rain. Oh, got me so good. But yeah, I feel like that game did a good job of making me invested in How, in Lily, in Gladion. Like, I felt very emotionally involved with these characters. They mattered to me. And while Pokemon Sun and Moon certainly had a lot of other issues, boy, were they, like, painfully easy. I've noticed that's an issue with a lot of the 3D ones. Back to that later, though. That's not the topic we're on right now. Right now we are on story and characters. Although some of the 3D designs I think are hit and miss. Like, I didn't really care for the champion in Sword and Shield. I know a lot of people were like thirsting over him or whatever. But, like, he looked like a dork, but not in like a cute way. He looked like a dork, like, in an annoying way. And personality just didn't really grab me. And, like, it's frustrating. Because I felt like between building up from Black and White, X and Y was like, oh, here's another story. I didn't think it was as good, and I didn't get as attached to the characters. I can't even remember any of the rival group's name. Charming as they seemed at the time. I don't remember any of them now. But, that aside, like, there was still quite a bit of story. Like, I found myself very empathetic with, like, a lot of the characters. I found it very interesting. I liked the lore. I liked the places that were very historically important. We're hearing about the region's history. I loved that. And then Sword and Shield is frustrating on so many levels for me. I don't even know where to begin with how I feel about Sword and Shield. Okay, I didn't really get attached to the characters. Although Hop isn't necessarily a clone of How, they do have differences in motivation and in how they behave. I feel like he was similar enough to How that they should not have been in the same, like, not in the same, but one generation apart. Like, if you want two characters as the rival who are going to be that much like each other, there's got to be at least one, preferably more games between them. Otherwise, it's going to be obvious how similar they are, and it's going to be disconcerting. Why did I not fly? Anyway, I don't think they should have been one after the other. And that issue was exacerbated by the fact that a lot of animations were which from a practical standpoint, I get that. Animation is expensive and time-consuming. But having How and Hop do the same excited, like, bouncy, hand-wavy gesture when they talk to you, like, it only amplifies struggle to consider them as separate characters. Again, I know they are different. I know they have differences in who they are baked into the writing. But, like, Game Freak wasn't doing themselves anything there. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. And on top of that, like, I know I'm not the first one to say this, hot take here, Sword and Shield was kind of hand-holdy. Like, it was kind of weird how I would go into a building, and then they would say, hey, you need to go to the building next door. And I'd say, okay, and I'd go outside, and then somebody would say, hey, you're Sun, right? You need to go to the building next door. And I'd be like, yeah, I know, I'm on my way there. There's no way I didn't this cross point. This is way too deep. And they'd be like, okay, I don't want you to get lost, so I'm going to walk you to the building next door. You don't get lost on the way to the building next door. It's like, yeah, okay, bud, whatever makes you feel good. I wake up in the morning. Hey, you need to go back to the place you were before. Do you need me to help walk you to the building next door that you've already been to? That's a trick question. You don't get to say no. You're going anyway, and I'm showing you how to get there. It's frustrating. I also feel the wild area was very empty. Like, it was one of the things that had me the most hyped going into Sword and Shield, but then there was, like, almost nothing unique about the way the land was shaped. Like, between Sword and Shield and Breath of the Wild, Sword and Shield, I felt like I was walking through a carefully manicured park in England. Meanwhile, Breath of the Wild, I felt like I was exploring a long-abandoned kingdom overgrown by wilderness. The wild area is not supposed to be a park, it's supposed to be wild. It is supposed to be nature. And it just feels, like, flat dead. I just don't care for it. I don't care for it undersells how much I did not enjoy the wild area. Like, first time going around, I was excited, but then it just became painfully clear how half-assed it was, to be completely frank. Like, dude, the way berry trees just looked so, like, you know how in cartoons, you would always be able to know, like, oh, that is the ground where, the ground's gonna collapse right there because it is very clearly drawn in the same cel-shaded style as everything that moves, and it looks nothing like the hand-painted, clean background. Like, that very obvious, like, you can tell at a glance what is going to happen, which ones to interact with, and it just kind of takes you out of the moment. And I get the need to telegraph to players, like, hey, you can interact with this one and not with this one. But, like, it is so... Like, it looks like a realistic tree standing next to a plastic tree with neon fruit. It's not good. It's very immersion breaking and weird, and it doesn't help that the trees disappear if you walk too far away. And you might think, well, son, that's not fair. It's actually quite difficult to render things at a distance. But guess what? Video game companies have already solved that issue. Breath of the Wild did it. Go on to Breath of the Wild if you own it. Load it up. Oh. Hurt my feet. Go on to Breath of the Wild if you own it. Load it up. And look around. And all the trees that are far away, you can just go to them. And they're not gonna pop into view. They're not gonna disappear unless you are so far away that you wouldn't be able to realistically see them. And they use they use this actually very interesting technique where it's like, when you're at a certain distance away, it's actually replaced by a bridge. But, like, it's far enough that you can't really tell unless you're really, really looking for it. And it transfers when you get to a certain distance. So, like, it saves on a lot of that memory space that is necessary to keep the game running, while still making it look like this real, full, living world. In Pokemon Sword and Shield, if you're 5 feet away from something, whether it's a tree, or a Pokemon, or a person, it disappears and exists until you step closer. Which is not only immersion breaking, but makes the wild areas even worse, because, like, you'll be riding around quickly, you know, riding your Rotom bike to move around fast because, you know, it gets way too slow to just walk on foot. But then, like, a Pokemon will just spawn in 2 steps in front of you, and by the time it comes within range of your vision, and it, like, pops into rendering, like, you're too close to stop the Rotom bike, and you have to battle it because you crash into it. And, like, that's just frustrating. And if your, like, graphics are bad enough that it's affecting gameplay, like, that's an issue. I also do believe that the textures in Pokemon games could be improved, especially compared to other 3D Switch games. That's a personal opinion. I know that there are other people who don't mind the graphics, and there are others who vehemently hate them. I don't hate them as much as some people do, but I also don't think they're great. But, like, at the same time, Pokemon's just, like, this really amazing thing. It's got all of these creatures you get to meet, and this world you get to explore, and I am firmly of the opinion that the designers at the Pokemon company, wonderful, fantastic, incredibly skilled, brilliant. I may not like every Pokemon design. Oof, that is not looking too hot. Switch for my almond. But, like, just look at the regions they're designing. Like, every single city in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, beautiful. And it's so packed with detail, culture, and design. Like, they feel like not only real living cities, but fascinating. Places that I want desperately to explore and see, just live in. Except they feel like a movie set because none of the doors work. So, I did notice quickly in the game that they removed the ability to sit on things. Not the worst thing in the world. Sitting is not necessarily crucial to Pokemon gameplay. I do miss being able to sit, and I do remember, I think it was X and Y, when they added the ability to sit, and the internet lost its mind, like, oh my god, you can sit in Pokemon now! So, I was a little bit disappointed, but it wasn't the end of the world when I realized sitting was gone. Hell, it might have been removed in Sword and Shield without me noticing. I didn't finish Sword and Shield because I really just struggled to attach to it like I had to other games. It was rough. But, then we hit a bigger issue. Doors to nowhere. So, let's say you're playing Pokemon, and you see a door, and you walk up to it, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go inside here, I'm gonna talk to the NPCs, maybe look in their trash, see if there are any items, and then I can keep going and explore all these other cool buildings. A. Oh, I guess maybe that's just like a weird part of the wall. This is definitely a door, though. A. So yeah, a bunch of buildings, like the majority of buildings actually in Scarlet and Violet, you can't enter, which kind of makes sense because it is basically breaking and entering. But like that wasn't an issue in old Pokemon games. And I loved being able to like go into these houses and see all these things. But now like, instead of even having a message pop up saying like, oh, better not go into somebody else's house, nothing. Like, you try to go into a door, and it does not respond. It just doesn't work. Half, if not more of the doors are actually just walls. Which is kind of disappointing from, like, an angle of, like, wanting to explore and see all these different places and talk to characters. Like, that's disappointing. But then, it's even worse because a big chunk of the NPCs don't have any lines. Which, like, I get. Writing, dialogue means paying writers, and they wanted the world to have a lot of characters. But, like, again, it just makes everything feel more flat. Like, even if all of them just had, like, the little speech bubbles that pop over their heads now, which I have mixed feelings on, but I don't hate, kind of, like, meh about. But, like, even if just everybody had that mechanic, and just said something, that'd be fine. But then there are just some characters that just, like, if it wasn't for, like, their very simple idle animation, you'd think they were dead. Then there's the issues that have been existing ever since Pokemon transferred into 3D, and was absolutely at its most appalling when we were in Sword and Shield, is how the moment 3 or more moving animated entities come on frame, it's like watching a slideshow. But like they still do group shots. They still have non-pre-rendered, like, live shots of characters being animated to move and clap in a big crowd, and it like makes it feel like I am running. Feels like I'm running a PowerPoint program. It doesn't feel like I'm playing a game or watching a cutscene. It's just so bad. And it throws me out so bad. There's also a lot of little things that I like, and I have a lot of complicated, confusing feelings about Pokemon. I have absolutely talked myself to death, so we are going to go on break while I refill my water. And while we break, I am going to try and spawn in some spiders so we can do pickaxe repairs. I'll turn off spider sounds so as not to drive y'all crazy. BRB! Why did my music stop? I'm not leaving you guys in a void of silence. Alright, be back soon. I'm back! And I got a big old thing of water. Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Sadie. Did my enthusiasm awaken you? And headphones on. Whew. Oh. Just a kid, and we're still paused because Miss Sadie needs to be allowed to leave because now that I woke her up, she doesn't want to be here. I'm coming. Oh, little ingrate. After all I do for her. A shame. I enjoyed her company so. Anyway. Oh, come on. You know, I actually, okay. I've actually made my own Fakemon that I'm very proud of. Let me see if I can find a picture and I will share it. It is somewhat based on the area in which I live, and I did take inspiration from the theory that, like, all the starters are based on something, whether it's like, oh, fire starters are based on the Chinese zodiac, or water starters are based on, I think, like, dinosaurs it was? It's been a while. That's been pretty handily disproven by this generation. Last I checked. Fire type. Crocodile? There is no crocodile here. Where is Year of the Crocodile? And you could say, oh, it's Snake. Snakes don't have legs. What are you on about? That drawing I did. I want to share it. It's so cute and I'm very proud of it even now. Even though it's a bit of an older artwork. Gotta be around. Another thing that I actually did not mention about the last ramble about Pokemon and, like, design is that modern Pokemon designs have a lot more thought behind them. Which doesn't mean they're, like, inherently better. That's a very preference-based thing. But, like, rather than being, here is a dragon that is on fire, like Charizard, they, like, are based on mythology and lore and different kinds of ecology. Very interesting. I am personally a pretty big fan of that kind of thing. I like that there's, like, a lot more idea put into it. Okay, it doesn't look like I have a PNG, but I can probably this. I never polished the third stage, but here we go. Volkiro. It's a little fire cowboy. So, starts off as this little cow with, like, a little wick for the tail. Then bigger, and it's got tail that's loaded. And I wanted it to be kind of based on, like, thermal vents and hot springs, which can actually get, like, really colorful, which is why there's this stripe of green. There would be, like, a lot of colors on this one, almost rainbow, but not quite. And I wanted it to kind of have a loose cowboy theme, which is why the skull with the horns is kind of shaped like a cowboy hat. I didn't want it to just be, like, a cowboy cow. I wanted it to be a little subtler. And I'm actually really proud of this design. So the baby is Bovaroo, because bovine and buckaroo. Then we've got Redoxin, because oxen, and redox is a chemical reaction. And then Volkiro, which is volcano and vaquero. I don't know if it's pronounced vaquero or vaquero, but it's the Spanish word for cowboy. So it goes from this little fire cow baby into, like, this sheriff made of like molten lava, and it would be either fire ground, fire poison, or pure fire. I never really decided. I still should come back and finish this. I'm still really proud of this character design. And also, I just... Look at him! Tell me that if this wasn't a starter, you wouldn't smooch him on his little head. Even if you didn't pick him, you'd give him a little smooch. He's just a little cow with a little fur bandana. His little horns. Ugh. This is one of my greatest designs ever. Like, I still have so much pride in this. Look at that little guy. I also feel like I captured, and not to toot my own horn, I feel like I captured the pretty common arc of starters, which is cute little creature, a more rambunctious, kind of scrappy animal that is willing to fight, but might not be like the strongest, like a powerful, cool monster with a lot of personality. I'm very proud of this arc of Pokemon. I really do need to come back and I'm very proud of it. Anyway, so that's my big ramble about Pokemon I've made beside. There we go. Let's kill some spiders! Hello, fellas. Good music to murder to. Another thing that I'm very excited about is that one of my favorite animals finally got a Pokemon. Dolphin! Dolphins used to be like my absolute undeniable favorite. Before and after that, it was horses. I was, in fact, a horse girl. Very, very intensely so, actually. Like, I had no chill about my horse love. Ugh, got a little bit of a burp, sorry. But yeah. These days, I'd have to say my favorite animal is a Lottle. I love axolotls. And I'm actually kind of sad that Wooper is the only axolotl Pokemon. Don't get me wrong, I like Wooper. He's a handsome little lad, but he doesn't really have the axolotl vibe. And I would love a Pokemon with the axolotl vibe. Like, maybe like a little water dragon guy, that'd be so cute. Or he could even just be like a dragon type pure. It doesn't have to be in water. It's not a real axolotl. I don't know, man. Just give me a cute little Lottle guy. Maybe like pink and white, like Lucistic. I don't know if it's pronounced Lucistic or Lucistic. I think Lucistic, since the nickname's Lucy. Bottle. Or a black one. Black axolotls are so cool. I love them so much. Mostly people want to talk about like the pink one. Like when the black ones, those guys are so cool. Little adored, but they're so round. I really liked Tarantula, the little yarn ball guy that they added as the starter bug for this region. Personally, I like the name Yarnet. That's what I called mine. It sounds like darn it, but it's a yarn and it. And you know, when you see a bug, you're gonna say an expletive. And while you can't put like damn in a Pokemon game, like you'd be like, ah, darn it, it's a spider. But yarn, I don't know. I thought it was cute, and that's why I nicknamed mine. Very good boy. Now lives in my box forever because I don't dislike the evolution. But, like, there are other Pokemon I'd rather use. Again, I very much love my dear Cyclizar. What other ones are there that I'm fond of? I feel like the Pawmi line, I don't dislike it. I think it's cute. I think it's charming. I feel like the middle evolution and the first one are so similar that it kind of feels like they made them two separate evolutions because they made two concept arts and were like, let's just use both of them or something like that. It didn't feel like there was enough of a difference for it to be an evolution as opposed to just just bigger. I don't know. What else do I really like? Conflicted on the final form of qotd. The middle form, hated. Final form, I like better than the middle form, that's for sure. And there are aspects of it that I think are awesome. I love the kind of sugar skull inspired face. I love that it's got this like little bird that perches on its nose made of like fire. It's like crocodiles in real life commonly have like little bird companions that like they have a symbiotic relationship with. The crocodile protects the bird, and the bird picks the meat out of the crocodile's teeth. So like, it's both got an interesting ideas behind its design, but I also like, I don't know if it was executed in the way I best prefer. Hello, Sleep! I'm rambling about my feelings on Pokemon. Although Sprigatito does fall into the whole thing of like, I do wish that starters were less singular characters and more like ace. I don't hate Sprigatito's final Evo, whatever. I think it's kind of cute. Like, having a little like, magical thief cat. That's fun. That's pretty cute, pretty clever. I don't hate that. Again, not what I would have chosen personally for the direction they went, but I don't hate it. What other one? Tandemaus, and then was it Polymouse? I don't. It starts with two little plushy-like mice. Then, if it's not in the battle where it levels up, you'll just open your bag, and suddenly you have 4 mice. I love the fact that it's just like, yeah, this Pokemon is 2 mice. It evolved, now it's 4 mice. Congratulations. The magic of parenthood with mice. Like, I think their design is like very cute and charming, and then it has just this hilarious, in my opinion, evolution. I love it. It's just such a fun Pokemon. I think it's very cute, it's very funny. Smoliv, that's an interesting one. I like the first and second design. The third one, my feelings are a little bit more mixed on. The arms are kind of weak. Well, now I'm not talking about Pokemon in general, and now I'm just kind of rambling about specific Pokemon. So let's move back into discussing design. And like, let's talk about some positivity, because I've said a lot of negative things about Scarlet and Violet, and I actually like them considerably better than Sword and Shield. I do think they are much less polished than they should be for $60, but I do prefer them to Sword and Shield. Like, so much more. Oh, Sword and Shield. It still kind of makes me angry. Part of it is personal taste, but also part of it is like, I just don't think they put as much care into it as they should have. It feels like they just did not give a shit about Sword and Shield, in my opinion. Maybe that's just because I don't like it, so I have to assume it was a labor of dispassion, because otherwise, why does it exist? I do like the whole student thing more than I expected to. I didn't expect to like it at all. Is Sadie crying to be let in? Sadie, is that you? Jennifer? Hello? Sadie, come say hello to Twitch chat. Sadie is here. was very upset because I did not immediately hear her when she screamed at my door. Okay. Things I like about Scarlet and Violet. Where I saw something that freaked me out. I didn't expect to like the being at an academy as much as I did. I was worried it would make things even more like railroaded and hand-holding than it had already been in Sword and Shield, which very much did not excite me. But like, it surprisingly did not affect the amount of hand-holding as much as I expected. I actually find the like little classes that you can go to kind of charming and cute. I feel like the professors are all very interesting characters. Are you... What? Are you screaming because you want that bottle of cleaning detergent? Why are you screaming? What? You're so weird! Not to go back to the negativity, I don't like how we only have 4 outfits, and it's like the 4... Oh my goodness, she's being a stinker. Let me go address her issue. What? What? None of these are yours. These are all mine. Your toy's not here. That's why you keep in here. You're out of luck. See? Not here. Your toy's not here. Oh my goodness, she is not. Oh, Sadie! Cut it out! Cut it out! No thoughts in the brain. Tiny head. No thinking. Only Sadie. Anyway. Don't love that they went from like, oh yeah, here's this big complex range of customizations to, yeah, you can have 4 outfits. They're all the same colors. They're all school uniforms. Like, didn't love that transition. Ma'am! I see today. And like, it kind of makes all of the accessories kind of pointless. Like, sure, I can buy like 100 different kinds of socks, but like, unless it looks good with like the plain blue uniform, then it's not gonna look good. And it kind of disincentivized me from buying anything. I think I've bought like 1 hat, 1 pair of shoes, and 1 pair of glasses. Whereas in the other games, like, I tried to collect all of the clothing because I'm a nerd. I like collecting things. But in this one, like, the clothing I just don't even care about. But meanwhile, like, there's, like, full-on eye shape customization. And, like, you can change the shape of your mouth, and you can change, the eyebrows, and, like, there's... Damn! Your toy's not in here! I told you! So it's like, they gave you a lot more customization for the actual physical face. But there's not really anything else to encourage caring about how your character looks, really. It's just something that... Oh my goodness! Sorry, we're gonna have to call another very quick break while I handle Miss Sadie. Gotta go find her a toy so she stops screaming. You hear her screaming? Well, she has her toy now, so she shouldn't be crying at least. Wouldn't be surprised if she makes some other noises though, cause she's a stinker. This lady gives me a migraine. It's like Parenthood light. Except she's so high maintenance, it's just Parenthood. Big drink. Deep breath. I know you guys blah blah blah. I know you probably can't hear it, but Miss Sadie is going ham on a squeaker right now. I probably won't be able to stream much longer because, boy, this is the fast track to get a migraine. I will try to go a little longer though. I do like the storytelling in this new game so much. Like, Arvin, so sweet, best friend, love him forever, and his story is just so relatable. Like, he just, I don't want to spoil anything, but like, he just cares so much. He's got such a big heart, and it's so full of love, and it's the most relatable character I've ever met in Pokemon. My favorite gym leader is easily Larry, though. Never thought there would be a gym leader named Larry. I love him. I am a Larry stan. Are you crying because you... No, it's not enough to have your toy. You have to have your toy on the couch, huh? You're impossible. Come here. Come here. I'm gonna put him on the couch for you. I'm just moving him. You can have him still. I'm just moving him to where you wanted to go. Can you hear the squeaking now? She's moved closer. Go lay at the head of the bed so that nobody can hear your squeakies. Stinker! But there. Okay, that should buy us a couple minutes of sweet, sweet silence. But yeah, Nimona, I like how she is confident and outgoing and very passionate about battle. It's a role that's almost always given to like a male rival. So having a female rival who's like passionate about it, that's refreshing. It's not a huge thing, but like, it's just pleasant. I kind of am not a huge fan of turning champion into champion ranked trainer. It kind of like devalues the specialness of it a little bit, but it also makes more sense because like, if you presume that being a champion always means you are like the head of a region effectively, because like, whenever we meet a champion, they're always very important, like borderline political figure in the region. Maybe it's better that that isn't something a child can achieve no matter how gifted. Maybe it's for the better, actually, that champion is a rank, but also it does kind of devalue it. I don't know. That's a personal opinion thing. It's not a huge deal. It's a matter of taste, I suppose. Sadie, you are going to be the death of me. I really love that you can throw your Pokemon out. Like, it's like having them walk behind you, like you could do in Poke Park and in Diamond and Pearl, but better, and it can any Pokemon. I love that. That feature is so good, and if Baby Sun had heard about it years and years ago, I'm telling you, that bean would have lost them damn mind. Like, it would have just driven me crazy. Like, why can't I be an adult now? I need to play this game where I can walk with my Pokemon. spent a lot of time in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, walking around the Pokemon Park, but more than that, just digging underground. That was before Minecraft. Children just loved to mine. It's our natural state of being. Send me back to the coal mines, Papa! I just want to go one more level! I do think that a lot of the new designs are really cool. Some of them I do feel don't feel like Pokemon, but I already went on my tangent about why having every design feel quote-unquote like Pokemon is a great way to just run out of designs. You gotta push the envelope, or else you just can't keep moving, you know? And the nostalgia factor kind of guarantees that even if things were basically like, even if they could somehow guarantee that they would be just like the original designs without being the same, nostalgia basically guarantees there would still be people complaining that they were different, even if they, like, weren't, in fact. It's just like this whole complicated thing. So I don't have an issue with the designs of new Pokemon. My issue lies almost exclusively with, like, difficulty being dumbed down for children, or mechanics being removed, or crunch time, or low quality. Like, the designs of Pokemon is not something that I'm particularly concerned about regarding the game's series. I will say, this may be in part because the open world playstyle makes it so I can just go anywhere, and there's also a lot less trainers for me to just grind against. This game does feel comparatively harder than Sword and Shield, which is a good thing. Like, unequivocally, that is good. It's still not difficult, like, it's still a very easy game, but it's harder than Sword and Shield, which, thank God. Sword and Shield was just rock, paper, scissors. Like, there were good things about the game, some of the designs were wonderful, and I can respect that there were people who liked the story and the characters and whatever. I really honestly believe the gameplay in that game was neutered as hell. Like, people talk about X and Y being too easy, but I don't think it was nearly as bad as Sword and Shield. Like, ugh, I feel frustrated just thinking about it. Sword and Shield, honest to God, felt like I was playing Rock, Paper, Scissors Simulator. And you might think like, oh, well, Gigantamaxing at least makes things more interesting, it mixes the battle up. It's like, oh, you are big? Then I will also press the button to turn big. Now it's the exact same, and I can still knock you out in one hit. I legitimately several times would defeat a Gigantamax gym leader without Gigantamaxing my own Pokemon in a single hit. Like, the type matchups were so aggressively done that, like, legitimately, so long as you just knew what types to plan for, you could get through with, like, less than a dozen button presses, maybe. Sword and Shield were horrible. Like, part of that is, like, very subjective, like, distaste for them, but, like, difficulty-wise, that is not subjective. They were just so painfully straightforward. Like, it legitimately, like, I am not joking when I said that it felt like a rock, paper, scissors simulator. I really just felt so miserable trying to enjoy it. Like, the most exciting point of the game, the biggest climax, where it's like, oh, shit's going down, you better get ready, where, oh, you're just about to face the champion, when suddenly something terrible goes wrong, and you have to go catch the legendaries in order to save the world. That's when I stopped playing. I didn't quit, just lost interest. I didn't even intentionally stop, I just put it down one day and never picked it back up. Because it was just so easy. I didn't really feel the stakes were high. Like, I even tried to do it Nuzlocke style, like, specifically to make it harder for myself, so that maybe it would be fun. I don't think I'd lost any Pokemon. Maybe I did, but like, I didn't care about them enough to remember losing them. Like, it was all just so flat. And although Scarlet and Violet are still much easier than I personally would prefer, because I'm a try-hard loser nerd, like, they're not as bad. I can be knocked out by a Pokemon, even if they're using moves that are not very effective. It's not just, oh, rock, paper, scissors, I win. It's, okay, this Pokemon is using a move that hits really hard. I can switch to a Pokemon who can take it. I can use the status moves. Like, it's still incredibly simple. And part of that is an issue with just very basic AI that, like, really does not do much. Which I know they can do better than, because, like, Cynthia. We all know Cynthia. The AI on her was insane. But, like, they don't really utilize good AI for anything but, like, really high-level enemies. But, like, could it be so difficult for the majority of trainers to know, hey, my Ghost-type move can't hit a normal-type Pokemon? Or, I probably shouldn't use Sandstorm if there's already a Sandstorm happening, because that has no... Like, they should at least be able to do basic logic. I can sort of see an excuse for wild Pokemon, because the less intelligent ones are almost basically animals. But, like, for trainers at least, they should know better than to just try and do things that, like, are just obvious. Like, stop trying to hit my normal type with your ghost type. Even though I know for a fact that you have another move, because you're basically just cycling through them at random. Like, that's not... I do believe that Pokemon games should be a little bit more difficult. Just, like, overall. But my point is, I do feel Scarlet and Violet is more difficult, and I think that is a good thing. I feel like it is a step back to form. They've never been very, very intense games, but going back towards that older, more present challenge, I do think is a overall positive for Pokemon as a franchise. Yeah. Out of scaffold. I'm also a little bit bummed we can't catch the Titan Pokemon. Like, I get it. They're very powerful, but, like, I want a giant mon. Give me a giant monster. Why can I not have a kaiju on my team? I get it, they're very overpowered. Like, you could nerf it when I catch it. I just want it to be big. Give me a big friend. Give me a big boy! That's just a personal thing, though. All in all, though, I have really been enjoying Scarlet and Violet. I don't like it nearly as much as I liked Legends Arceus, which blew me away, and I really hope they do more in the Legends Arceus type. Well, it probably wouldn't be Arceus, but I hope they do more Pokemon Legends style games, because Legends Arceus was so fun. And, like, it also just felt more polished, which is kind of sad, because it's a spin-off, not fine. But, the point is, I didn't like it as much as Legends Arceus, but I liked it, well, I like it, currently, because I'm not done. I like it much better than Sword and Shield. Like, I'm still kind of, like, sad about Sword and Shield, because I'm very passionate about the Pokemon franchise. It's been part of my childhood for basically my whole life. I think it's really fun, I think the designs are great. So, Sword and Shield being as much of a letdown as it was, really... I want Pokemon to succeed. I want it to be good and keep going strong. But like, I can't lie to myself. I know when something is bad and when I find it boring. And like, I can remember the name of Hop. I don't remember any of the other characters, except for Chairman Road. I remember his name. That's it. I remember he had an assistant who was pretty. I don't remember her name. I don't remember Hop's brother, the champion. Sycamore was black and white, right? What was the professor from that one? I don't even remember. I just... Sword and Shield was so passive. Oh, there was Marnie. I liked Marnie. That's it. Those are all the characters I can remember. Can't even remember like what any other characters were. I think Marnie had a brother he named. Kind of cute. The internet had a moment over him. You know how it is. But like, other than that, big old blank. Meanwhile, all of the gym leaders in this region, they're interesting, they're fun, they've got something going on. Like, not all of them are like my favorite in the world. Like the baker lady, she was cute and she was nice, but didn't really stick in my brain. I love Iono. She's cute, she's quirky, she's kind of fucking weird. But like, she's just fun. Her design is interesting. Her personality, the stuff she has you do, like, and not just Iono, but there's also like Bufo, the water dude, and you go to the market with him, and he's like this really sweet, bumbling, awkward uncle dude, and Gracias, you know, goth artist who people thirst over in-game, like, you know, that's pretty cool. I like him a good amount. Pretty decent. Like, the characters feel so lively. I've already talked about my love for the rivals. And like, Starfall Street, it's such a good story. Like, I feel so compassionate towards these, like, it's so fun for the evil team not to be actual bad guys this time, but like, this club of students who basically escaped bullying together and found friendship, and even though they have the power of friendship on their side, they ended up just kind of slowly becoming toxic and making the world a harsher place, and like, not even intentionally, but like, oh, I love them so much. Their designs are charming. Bela is very pretty, gorgeous. I love her. I'm in love with her. I love her. We're getting married tomorrow. We have our wedding. We're going to have 20 children, and I am going to kiss her on her face. The characters are all just great and interesting, and I feel strongly about the story. Scarlet and Violet, I've really been enjoying. I feel like it's a real step up. That said, I'm starting to kind of dissociate because of Sadie's chewing overlaid with the sound of Minecraft overlaid with the music. So I am gonna have to call stream there. I know we didn't get much done today, but I can promise I will take measurements and we will, Tuesday, get some work done. God is my witness. Sadie as my witness. Sadie, come here. Come say goodbye to chat. You come say goodbye to chat if I steal your bear? Can we speak? 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 Woo! Okay, that's Sadie.